Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Nerd Soup. I am Beau Oliver, joined here today with Aaron, the Nerd Soup Monkey, and we are back to review episode 4 of Moon Knight. And before we get into today's review, I want to let you guys know that you can listen to this review on iTunes, Spotify, and Google Podcasts by simply clicking our podcast link. That is nerdsouppodcast.buzzsprout.com. Also, I want to give a quick shout out to our sponsor for today's episode, and that would be Skillshare. Right now, the first 1,000 people who click the link in our description box below will receive a 1-month free trial to Skillshare, or you can use promo code NERDSOUP when signing up. And if you've listened to our podcast before, you'll know that Skillshare is one of our favorite websites to talk about because of how valuable it is for creators, both new creators and veteran creators alike. A membership to Skillshare will give you access to thousands of courses taught by real-life creators for anyone who wants to hone their skills or learn new skills entirely. They provide courses in Adobe products like After Effects and Premiere Pro, and they also have courses in photography or video editing, and even courses that focus on specific hobbies. It's also great for those looking to build a brand around themselves or small businesses. Skillshare has dozens of courses in branding, such as logo design and website building, and so much more. There are also courses that will help you unleash your creativity, such as this course taught by Thomas Frank, Productivity for Creatives. Build a system that brings out your best. Frank outlines the keys to maximizing your productivity while working in a digital space, providing tips and lessons on how to balance all the elements that go into being a modern content creator. And remember, the first 1,000 people who click the link in our description box below will receive a 1-month free trial to Skillshare, or you can use our promo code NERDSOUP when signing up. So don't wait, click that link, and get your skills up. I mean, don't be slacking. Put in the work. All right, Aaron, episode 4 of Moon Knight. Is there anything specifically you want to talk about this episode? Anything big happened? Anything that, couldn't wrap your head around?
I did a little Google dive into Alexander the Great. That was my big takeaway from it.
I actually really liked that little piece of information.
Yeah.
This idea that he was Ahmet's avatar.
Yeah.
It explains why he was so nice, why he was able to almost take over the world, you know?
Well, nice, depending on who you are.
No, in terms of like talking about athletes, like that boy nice. In terms of, like Genghis Khan.
That's what it said on the tomb. Alexander the Great. That boy nice.
And you read Macedonian?
Yeah.
That's pretty funny.
One of my skills. Took an elective. But yeah, obviously the ending, finding out he's in a mental institution and everything is in his head. Or isn't. Who knows at this point. But that I kind of, obviously reading the comic, like I always had that in the back of my head. And watching this one, I feel like in the beginning, I'm like, that's how it's going to end. Especially with everyone talking about the big twist. I kind of put it together on my own. And when it happened, I was like, fucking nailed it. I noticed, I don't know if you've noticed, in this episode more than others, but maybe I was actually looking for it, but I don't want to say it was clunky, but it always felt like something was off. These weren't really happening. All the events and dialogue and everything wasn't super natural to me. And that could have been a case of bad writing or a little hint towards this isn't really what it seems. And I felt like watching the beginning of this episode, I kind of put it together. I'm like, okay, that might be the twist at the end, and it ended up being so.
Yeah, I still think there could be a possibility where this is the illusion, and this is just Harrow, getting into Mark's own mind, because it goes back to the idea of Mark not knowing who he truly is. Mm-hmm. So now he's literally been split into two people, but that the mystery personality is still in play. When he's talking to Layla about what happened with her father, that his partner killed them all. So I wonder if that was just another way to say my other personality that I can't control, that I don't even know what to call him. I don't even know if it exists.
Yo, but if I'm Mark, and I have all these personalities, I got these vanilla-ass names. Mark, Steven, Jake.
It's a superhero-y.
Yeah.
Bruce Banner.
Lucius.
Clark Kent.
That's right. Lucius.
Maximilian.
Yeah. Spice it up a little. Come on.
Right. Like I said, that's his subconscious giving him a nice little superhero name.
And I've had people message me saying that Steven's accent is pretty not great.
Okay.
So maybe that could be a reason for that, is that if he's basing his accent off of these bootleg Indiana Jones VHSs, then that's kind of how he conjured the Steven identity.
Yeah, it always sounded like he was doing an accent like American actors used to do in the 50s or 60s when they were playing a British character, or some other accents that are now very offensive. But this one, hey, you never know these days. people may be truly offended by it.
But like,
maybe he's not the best actor of his generation. It's Christian Bale, who could do a perfect American accent.
You really can.
Yeah.
But
is there anything that guy can't do?
But like you said, like even in the comic, it's still like very up in the air about what's actually happening. So this can be another illusion. This can be something that's not happening. Both of it can be. You can just wake up like in a different setting and a different thing, being like, "Whoa, that was a crazy dream," and it would kind of make sense for this character. So that level of uncertainty when it comes to the narrative and what's happening on screen is still apparent. I don't think this was, because even when they do show him in the mental hospital, you see Layla and you see all the orderlies that we've seen in the other setting, and obviously you see Ethan Hawke's character at the end being the head of this ward. There's still things where he shows signs of mental breaks, where he does see Steven in a tomb and the other thing, and the fucking hippopotamus. So
that was a great way to end the episode. However, it still feels episodic. I mean, it still feels like they're forcing it to be episodic, where once again, that was just a cut in the action.
Yeah.
Where it's going to be a funny moment, and maybe it cuts to, a scene with Harrow or a scene with Layla in another setting. But once again, in the moment it was funny and startling, but then the episode ends and I thought, oh, this again, where they're just chopping the movie here. And still, I feel, it's natural that I'm going to compare it to the other Marvel Disney Plus shows, but there hasn't been that wow moment for me. And I feel like with WandaVision and Loki, there were several up until this point of the season. There hasn't been that one moment that really stuck with me where I'm like, man, this was cool. This was just an epic MCU moment that's going to go down as, in the MCU history books. So I'm still waiting for that. I guess, having some familiarity with the character, it wasn't such a surprise that it would change to Mark's in a mental hospital. I was glad to see it, though, because like you said, that's an interesting thing that they do in the comics, making Harrow the Nurse Ratched, where he's still a villain. He's just he's typical douchebag therapist guy. Yeah,
so like obviously with all those different breaks while he's in the mental hospital, it's very apparent that something's not right either in this setting, this world, or with Mark himself. So trying to unravel that and figure that out, I think is probably what the route they're going to go for the rest of the season, which is only 2 episodes more.
Yeah, episodes 5 and 6. For me, it's not creating a sense of uneasiness. Even though what Mark is going through, I can't pinpoint it. But I'm not scared. Like I said, I don't feel very unsettled by what's happening. It just feels like another mystery box. And that, like the character of Moon Knight, it's inherent at times that you don't know what's real or what's not. But say, when David Lynch does that in his movies, there's a real palpable uneasiness that you can feel that radiates off of the story. That to me isn't present in this show yet. Even though this is it got to its weirdest point here. And, I've been clamoring for more practical effects, and that freaky guy who was in the tomb with the bodies and the blood, I assume, whatever he was doing in there we're going to get some answers for that as well. That may be another secret that Harrow is keeping about what's actually going on in this tomb with this magic. That was scary, that was freaky, but still nothing about these moments is really grabbing me and sending chills down my spine, because on paper, this, like I said, I love the Moon Knight character. This is the stuff I really want them to get into, and I'm glad they did, but it's still just not grabbing me. Maybe I'm just an old fart.
No, I definitely share the same sentiment. I think
but it seems to be doing it for so many other people.
I know.
So I'm like, what's wrong with me?
That's a whole different discussion for a different day in a different setting.
Fair enough.
I can give you some referrals.
Can you? Yeah. It's going to be Ethan Hawke. What the fuck?
He's, he's not doing a bad job. I wonder if it's a sense of he
continues to kill it. But once again, he shows up and he says some evil stuff. Maybe you called it back on episode 1. There's really not much there.
Right. Yeah, he's just evil bad guy.
But if his actions were a bit more sinister, if the things that he were doing were, they really, this guy's completely lost it. I feel like I haven't felt that way about that character since episode 1, when he put the glass in his shoes, where I thought, this is... And they've never gone back to that. Are his feet okay?
Yeah, it's not like he's obviously he's an extremist in his ideals, but I don't think there's really... I think he's very good as the character, but as far as any layers are concerned, I think it's very surface level when it comes to that character. And
but it's like they haven't used him in a way that I wanted this character to go, where, like I said, more evil deeds, more sinister actions, ways that you get us to root against him. Because at this point, I don't hate him whatsoever. I'm not like, oh, Mark, I really want this guy to be taken down. I don't feel that whatsoever.
Need Mark to kill him. No, it's not like that. Because like his philosophies and his mission is inherently evil, unlocking this Egyptian god that's going to basically determine the fate of people and strike them down before they can commit anything wrong, which it's its own debate on. That's a whole different discussion on the morality of that. But like the character itself, like he's just, I don't know. That's all he is. That's his ideals. There's not much more to him.
What did you think about the Mark, Steve, and Layla stuff in this episode? Guess we got our answer, that Mark considers it cheating.
Yes.
When Steven kisses Layla. I think he punched him off a cliff.
Yeah, but
dramatic. That's a Teddy move.
If I'm Mark, I'm still like, well, like it's still me, kind of. No, I definitely want to be okay with it, but I would be like, well, like it's still like my face, my smell. That's what did it. The smell. She just smelled like Mark. That got her going. But yeah, you got to talk to Steven. And it seemed like they were cool when they met up later. Like a nice little hug. All's forgiven.
They were just so happy to see each other. Yeah. In that setting. Just nice to see a friend. That was actually funny there in the end with the tombs, and you don't really know what's going on. I imagine there's so much that's going over my head that people are sitting down and putting together the pieces, lines of dialogue that are hinting at, where the story is actually going. But I think, when it comes to Layla in this story and the issue that she now has with Mark, where he hid the truth about what actually happened to her father, once again, you don't know if that stuff is actually real, if this backstory, now she's just one of the nurses at the hospital. So is this something that he imagined in his head? But even if it was real, if it's real or not, that doesn't matter. I'm not very emotionally invested in what they have going on. I think the two actors have solid chemistry. But when Harrow is trying to manipulate her, it's stuff that we've seen before. Mm-hmm. She's going to confront him. He's going to say, you don't understand. It's more complicated than that. Tell her the truth. She's mad. He gets shot. Now she's sad again. So I don't know. I feel like emotionally I haven't become too invested in their relationship.
Yeah. I mean, it also could be, I was just thinking of different ways where everything can somewhat make sense. Like this could have all happened in the past, and this is his way of like containing them and convincing them they're crazy just to keep everything under wraps, or kind of suffocate the threat by having Mark and Layla in this hospital, kind of messing with their minds and being like, no, everything's imagined. Meanwhile, this could have all happened too. I don't know why you would just go through all that trouble and not kill them. Maybe like part of his moral code is you can only kill if Amit says he can kill. So this was the next best way to do it. Again, a little extravagant if you ask me.
Yeah, I mean, it does make sense. Like, he knows his weakness. He knows that he struggles with the identity disorder. So it's an easy way to trick him, to keep him subdued. So it very well could be that. But I guess, it was fun to get lost in that for those last 10 to 15 minutes where you truly don't know what's going on. You're right in the position of the protagonist where he's running around the hospital. You want him to escape so desperately. It makes me feel so icky when characters are so drugged out in mental hospitals. Yeah. I just hate it. I mean, I always feel like I'm going to wake up there one day.
It's one of my biggest fears.
Yeah.
And
I'm not crazy, though.
This person's crazy.
Yeah, this person. Well, that's what a crazy person would say.
Yeah. But yeah, it kind of like, I did like when they cut to from him drowning to change the aspect ratio into that old VHS type format. That was kind of confusing. And then when they pulled away, and then I kind of like was like, okay, that's actually pretty clever. I like that.
It was shot well, where it was convincingly a show from the 90s or the early 2000s or something like that.
And when he started talking with the British accent, I'm like, okay, I think I know what's going on here. And I thought that was like a cool way to transition into Mark being in the hospital. Very
well done. The editing there was very solid. And like I said, you do get kind of lost in it a bit. But yeah, I mean, for overall, I have no idea where it's going. So we have the hippo pharaoh at the end there, she was kind of cool. The CGI was whatever. When it's a giant hippo, you get a pass, I guess. Because hippos don't really walk around on 2 feet or speak.
I've never seen that.
No. So, yeah, that's kind of, it's like Scooby-Doo in the Scooby-Doo movies. you gotta make them CGI.
Yeah, but that's flawless.
True.
I thought that dog was real.
Not cinematography, though.
No.
Don't forget that. It feels like we're reviewing a movie. I keep saying it, that we're missing pieces to.
Yeah, I feel like with this, it's like with like a WandaVision, like the clues and hints are there. They're fun to like speculate about. Here, you really don't know what's going on or what's going to happen next, or like what's real and what isn't. So, like, as much as we could sit here and say, you know, I think this is going to happen, there really is no basis, because, you know, the next episode can take another complete 180, and then you're back where you started in terms of like what you're talking about and discussing, and then kind of going back into the past and the past episodes and seeing if it all connects and makes sense in that regard. So
yeah, and reading up on the goddess that he runs into at the end, it looks like she may be sort of a mediator between Khonshu and Ammit, because Khonshu and Ammit do similar things in different ways. Mm-hmm. She seems more like a sort of divine presence of goodness. So maybe he'll get some much-needed guidance from her that he isn't getting from Khonshu, or he isn't getting from Harrow. You know, setting him on the right path so he can kind of figure out what he truly needs to do, not just to save the world, but really to save himself. That's what's been interesting about this character, is that it's not only about saving the day, but it's his own issues that he's dealing with and how they're threatening to destroy his personal life. He basically doesn't have one anymore because of what he's been forced to do by Khonshu. So how is he going to get some closure here in these last few episodes, you know? That will be interesting to see. That's what I'm going to be keeping my eye on, because it feels like a contained story within the MCU. So the ending has to be something where, for certain characters, you know, that's it. It kind of wraps up.
Yeah,
like you need to wrap it up and it be emotionally satisfying for a lot of these characters.
I do hope it's a more personal conclusion rather than some big Egyptian god fight fest.
Well, I also think that there's a possibility that the show just ends on a cliffhanger.
Yeah.
And that will be something that they tease in a future project. You
Moon
know,
Knight will return.
Right.
Yeah.
What happened to Moon Knight? You know, how is that going to be resolved?
Yeah. I don't think, like with 2 episodes left, I don't think you make this big of a twist at the end of episode 4 and expect a full answer and conclusion and wrap everything up seamlessly in the next hour and a half.
But with Marvel, you never know. They may do that. Let's wrap it up, boys. Running low on money.
2 Oscar Isaacs. That's neat.
I'm always so impressed about how Hollywood can do that. Always gets me, from The Parent Trap to
They perfected it then.
Yeah, ahead of their games. Work from the devil. Somebody sold their soul. Well, let's wrap this up. Moon Knight episode 4, solid episode. I think that the internet seems to be liking it, so my opinion doesn't matter.
No, neither is mine.
Right. And if they're a little controversial, then you get to yell at us in the comments. So you guys should go do that. Let us know your thoughts, like, share, and we will be back next week for episode 5 of Moon Knight.
Mark goes to the dentist. Damn, we were making some good points in that video. Hey guys, Aaron the Nerd Suit Monkey here. Before we end this video, I want to give a quick shout out to our Patreon supporters. What can I say about you guys that I haven't already said about myself? You are the most important part of the channel and the main reason we keep going strong. Like Beau says, you keep the lights on in the fridge, so the fridge is full. Or something like that. So, from everyone here at Nerd Soup, I'd like to thank you guys for your continued support. If you're interested in joining the ranks of our Patreon supporters, head over to patreon.com/nerdsoup and check out the rewards we offer to our patrons. We recently dropped some new stickers for you guys to check out, or you could choose a tier that will allow you to select a movie, show, or video game for us to review. We've got a full slate of fan-suggested reviews coming your way, and we're really excited about the chance to review some of those movies and shows. We've also got t-shirts, mugs, behind-the-scenes videos showing how we bring our videos to life. And once again, thank you to all our Patreon pledgers who have been supporting us throughout the years. Without you, we wouldn't be able to convert all your pledges into cryptocurrency, so thank you from my future self for making us rich.